Thank you, Senator White. Now, Senator Mackenzie on a new subject.
Yes.
Until 9:30
related subject.
For tea break, 9:30
Okay, got it.
break, sorry.
Air Services Australia. Someone that can talk to me about that.
Yes, Senator.
So, if you've got your quants there, 3514. The department advised of 2 lengthy vacancies on the Air Services Board. Can you advise on what dates the board positions held by Ms Anne Brown and Ms Sue Ellen Bussell AM were due to expire last year?
Bear with me, Senator.
I will.
Ms Anne Brown's term expiry date was 3 December 2022.
3 December 22.
And Ms Sue Bussell,
Yep.
a term expiry date on the same day, 3 December 2022.
Right. And what date did the department first advise Minister King that the positions were due to expire?
I may not have that with me. I'll just see if we have that information handy.
I don't have that with me.
We do not have that handy on.
I think the Quan...
It will be, yes.
You don't have your quants
Over
there?
that water, look, mate, tee off up here, up there. Right. Not bad, eh? I'll put too much back.
The date on which, as per the Quan, the date on which the department first advised the minister that it was due to expire was the 2nd of November 2022.
Right. So that, from my understanding, Ms Brown's position was vacant for a period of 60 days and then she was reappointed to the vacated position. Is that correct?
That's correct. Ms Brown was reappointed to the board.
Yep. Has the minister appointed a replacement to the vacancy created by the departure of Ms Bussell?
Not as yet, Senator.
Okay, that's what, yep. So how many days has there been a vacancy created by Ms Bussell's departure from Air Services Australia Board?
I do not have that in my head. However many days are between the 2nd.
Yeah, I think it's a simple... If it's still not... I didn't know whether the Air Services Australia website was up to date or not, so you've confirmed it hasn't been filled.
That's right.
So 3rd of December to now.
That's correct.
Many more than 60 days. For how many days were there concurrently 2 vacancies on the board of Air Services Australia?
By reason of deduction, I think it would be 60 days.
Did this cause any issues with quorum during that period?
No, I do not believe it did. It was court.
Senator, excuse me, Senator Richard Wood, First Assistant Secretary, International Aviation Technology and Services. No, there was no issues with quorum. The quorum under the Air Services Act is 5 members, and they were always above that number.
They've always been above that, even for that 2-month period?
Yes, Senator.
So on the 2nd of November, the department provided the minister with a list of possible candidates to fill the vacant positions and make recommendations. What process did the department go through to arrive at those recommendations? It's you again, Mr Wood.
Certainly, Senator. We in that particular instance, we had advice from Air Services Australia, also provided some advice in relation to other potential candidates. We provide a skills matrix, and then the minister makes a determination to take forward recommendations.
So that is sitting with the minister on the 2nd of November, that information?
We provide information in relation to board appointments, yes, Senator.
Yep, having gone through a process within the department to identify likely candidates?
Yeah, we don't undertake...
Air Services Australia.
Typically, we haven't undertaken a direct search process. However, we do sometimes look at the government's board links process, for example.
So, sorry, when I asked earlier, what process did the department go through to identify and assess candidates that they presented to the minister? I'm not clear.
Sorry, Senator, as I indicated, we got advice from the Chair of Air Services and we provided additional advice in relation to that.
So what did your additional advice add to the Chair of Air Services Australia's recommendation?
I wouldn't like to provide advice to government, Senator.
Well, it's not cabinet advice.
It's still advice on a board appointment that might be divulging personal information.
I'm not asking for their phone number. I'm asking, you've gone to Air Services Chair. Who do you reckon would be good to fill these 2 vacant positions? You get the advice. What else did you do to add to that advice? That's my actual question. How did you test the veracity of the Chair of Air Services Australia's advice?
And I think we can say that Mr Wood and his team go through and look at the skills matrix,
Right?
and look at whether there's any other potential candidates, including from boards links, to see whether there's anyone else available to try to test the availability of people.
Thank you. And so you did do the board links process on these particular appointments?
That's my recollection, Senator.
Great. Thank you. After the gap of 60 days, the Minister then reappointed Ms Brown to her previous position. What was the reason for such a lengthy gap for the reappointment?
I'm not sure I can answer that. That's the Minister made a decision as soon as it was practicable.
Did the Minister originally not support Ms Brown's reappointment?
I'm not aware of that.
Because otherwise that's quite a quick brief to sign. That's one you could get out the door.
I'm not aware, Senator.
You're not aware. Minister, are you aware if there was an issue with Ms Brown's reappointment, given she was up, she was clearly recommended? Why was there a 60-day gap?
She got reappointed.
After 60 days?
If there's further information I can provide on notice, happy to.
Thank you. What issues have prevented the Minister from announcing a replacement on the Air Services Board for the other position, Ms Bussel's vacated position?
Senator, we're currently in the late stages of providing advice in relation to board appointments. There's a number of board appointments over the balance of this year and into next year, so we're providing advice on a strategy for those appointments.
But didn't you provide them? Did you only give the Minister one choice on the 2nd of November for 2 vacant positions? That would be. I can't imagine you doing that.
We give advice in relation to board appointments, and the Minister makes a decision.
So if there's 2 vacated board positions, you would have recommended to the Minister at least 2 candidates. Am I correct?
We provide advice to the Minister on potential candidates for board positions.
You're sounding very evasive, Mr Wood. There were 2 vacant positions on the 3rd of December for Air Services Australia. You provided advice going through a process on the 2nd of November to the Minister. Only one person is appointed several months down the track. I can either assume you recommended more than 2 people, 2 or more, to fill the 2 gaps, or you didn't.
I think, Senator, I'm conscious that these are board appointments go through a whole of government process as well.
This isn't a hard question.
I think we can take it that we would have provided more than one candidate for the Minister to choose from.
For 2 vacant positions.
For 2 vacant positions, a range of candidates. I would have to go back and check the documentation if you are after any further information.
No, that's all I wanted to know, because I don't understand why there's 2 vacant positions. You've provided the advice and somehow there's still a vacant board position. And we don't understand the issues that have prevented Minister King from appointing, what is it now, May, 6 months after you provide advice for board replacements. You are now going through another process, which when will that be finished?
Well, that'll be a matter for the Minister
No,
in terms of
the process you're undergoing
in terms
is your
of our
process.
advice to the Minister.
Yes.
I'd anticipate that would be there, over the next week or so. I mean, it's been drafted. It'll take some time then to work through whole government processes.
Secretary, we've previously discussed some of the challenging cultural problems besetting Air Services Australia. They're now becoming very public. Are these problems exacerbated by lengthy periods of uncertainty at a board level from membership?
I've got no evidence to suggest that that's the case. As Mr Woods indicated, the board has remained quorate at all times. It's the Minister's prerogative as to who she appoints to that board and how she goes about making those decisions. I don't think anybody is suggesting that the number of vacancies on the board is a material consideration in terms of the culture of the organisation.
Thank you. I just wanted to go to the CASA. I've got a Quan, I think it's 247. I understand on the advice provided that Donna Hardman's term on the board, on the CASA board, expired on December 22 and was not filled until February 23, the 7th of February 23, is that correct?
I think that's correct, Senator.
Yeah. I also understand the department first advised the Minister of the pending vacancy on the 27th of October, a full 2 months before the vacancy arose. Is that correct?
I believe that's correct, Senator.
Starting to see a pattern. Senator Chisholm, earlier this morning we talked about the delays in this particular office and I guess the workload of yourself and particularly Assistant Minister Brown, but particularly yourself. I mean, is there capacity in your own office and for you to actually assist Minister King with some of these protracted delays? It's not just board appointments, it's strategies, it's the aviation white paper, you name it, it's delayed in this particular portfolio area. You've got one minister very under the pump with a lot of briefs, a lot of corros, a lot of decisions, and then an assistant minister with maybe a brief a month.
Well, I see a minister and a ministerial office that's very diligent in fulfilling its duties. I think they have a big task they've got to take on given the recklessness of the previous government and what they inherited. I think they're doing, the minister is doing an admirable job in a very diligent way, and it would be no surprise that you would take your time and make sure you get these important appointments correct, rather than rushing in and appointing mates.
But that's
like your
why you
government
have a diligent public service minister to actually go through the processes Mr Wood and I have been talking about to ensure the minister in plenty of time is aware of board appointments.
It is 9:30, Senator Mackenzie, so we will go to the scheduled 15-minute break and come back in continuation with yourself.
Thank you.